All right, let's talk Los Angeles Rams. Of course, now that the draft and the free agency period, the undrafted free agency period, is for the most part behind us, we can take a deeper look at what the Rams have done. And if you listen to what the Rams are saying now, it's clear that Los Angeles, once again, is leading from the front in terms of taking innovative approaches with how they've drafted and evaluated players. And when you look at one player in particular, it's clear the Rams believe they got a special playmaker in their midst. We'll get to this report in just 1 second. But first, I'm Nick. That is Andrew, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, the Rams, of course, last offseason had the innovative approach to the draft, taking the pod approach, players that play together, work together, drafting and evaluating players that can align, playing on the same defense, working to follow in a certain scheme. That was obviously very innovative. You look at Verse and Fisk, and incredibly successful. And that trend in terms of having an innovative approach has continued. Let's go into the player in particular this involves. Let's refresh everyone's memory first with this tweet. Then we'll get into the reporting and the data on the other side. Again, this is from around the NFL, refreshing everyone's memory. The Rams have selected linebacker Josiah Stewart with the number 90 overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. Stewart, of course, finished up his career at Michigan. Now let's get into Les Snead's most recent comments. This is a tweet here courtesy of Rams Brothers, of course, a Rams social media account on X, content creator. The tweet says, Les Snead said they look for defensive line prospects who went to smaller programs first and then transferred up. That's interesting. Never heard that before. Verse, Fisk, BY, talking about Young, and Josiah are all examples. Saying it's a benefit of the transfer portal. It shows their desire to keep getting better and passion to become a dog. All right, that last sentence is kind of interesting the way he worded it, but basically what he's saying there is, listen, a defensive line prospect or any prospect in particular that goes to a small school and then transfers up, it means one of two things. It means basically two things. One, they were really good at where they were originally. They were a dominating force, so they're a good football player. And then if they transfer up, it means they have the ability and the talent to play at a higher level of college football and then execute it on it, which means the transition from collegiate level to the professional level should be pretty seamless. It should be pretty easy compared to, or at least I don't say easy is probably not the word, but at least accomplishable. They've done it before, a similar feat going from, say, small D1 to big D1. It stands to reason they could do it going from big D1 to the NFL. And look, we've seen this with the Rams. Kobe Turner, Brand Young, Jared Verse, Fisk, right? We've talked about this all the time. Rams bring in rookies, especially on defense, and they are contributors day one. And look, you look at Josiah Stewart falling to number 90 and where he was, obviously finishing up his career at the University of Michigan. His raw numbers, his data, his analytics according to PFF is absolutely bonkers, right? I do not know how this guy fell all the way to number 90, and it stands to reason why the Rams are so excited and they believe he's the next guy in line. That's really important there, is that you look at a guy like Josiah Stewart is the next Jared First, Braden Fisk, right? Falling under that, Kobe Turner, that just continuing legacy of the Rams drafting and finding incredible value with these front seven prospects. But let's get into Stewart's numbers here on the screen here. This is according to PFF, and this is basically looking at percentiles. If you're on the far right, that obviously means you're in the 100th percentile, 99th percentile. That's really good. Far left, the opposite, first percentile, that would be very bad. And it's broken up into those quartiles right there across the screen. You can see it. So you look at Stewart's pass rush grade, 92.3. Basically the 99th percentile. That's awesome. Run defense grade, 83.7. A little bit less than that, maybe around the 90th percentile. That's still pretty good. His true pass rush grade, again, 100th percentile, 93.7. Absolutely bonkers. His pass rush run rate, 27.7%, which is, again, that's insane numbers, folks. That's absolutely bonkers. Again, far right, 100th percentile. His run stop rate, again, extremely good, right around 80th percentile. So the Rams, essentially, if you look at his pass rush here in Stewart, they got a guy who should have been a first-round pick. And his run defense grade is, again, right around second, third-round pick level. So they got a phenomenal value here in Stewart. But he also fits what they're trying to do in terms of getting players that transferred up, that are willing and able to take that leap at the collegiate ranks, and now are able to do it at the professional game. This is one of the reasons why the Rams are so successful. We talk about it all the time. I know Rams fans, maybe they get tired of hearing it, who knows, but they take different approaches. They don't just look for good players. They don't just look for value, which a lot of teams try to do, and some do better than others. And of course, that's important. But they also look for underlying themes. They look for guys. They look for strategies. They look for the pods. They look for, hey, let's find guys that have transferred up because there's something special about them. We've had success doing that. It's that next level thinking that generally leads to steals. It's that next level thinking that leads to rookies of the year, like Verse was and that Kobe Turner should have been. It's that next level of thinking that leads to sustained success, even after you lose guys like Aaron Donald, even after you lose a bunch of veterans like you did after winning the Super Bowl a few years ago, even after you have a bunch of injuries at the quarterback position and other key areas. The reason you keep winning is because you're smarter than most of the competition, and strategies like this, like we saw with Stewart, like we've seen in years past, are why the Rams will continue to be among the top contenders in the NFL, regardless of whatever roster changes they make. As long as they have Snead and McVay, this team will be a legitimate contender. All right, Miles, I'm curious what your thoughts are on all of this. But first, Rams fans, the Ramley, if you will, in the comment section below, give us your favorite selection, whether it's a draft pick or undrafted free agent signing that the Rams made during this entire process. And boy, they made a lot of really good ones. We've covered a couple of them. They just made so many. It's hard to really put your teeth into everything because they've done a really good job. But give us your favorite and why in the comment section below. But Miles, I will turn it over to you now. What are your thoughts on this latest and just really everything with the Rams right now?
Yeah, Nick, I really love this pick just because this is something we hit on a lot on our college channel sometimes. So go check that one out. That's my college football show. But when we talk about it, we talk about it at college and the transfer portal. Talk about players that transfer programs to be more mature. They're able to, have a little bit more maturity around them, move themselves across the country. In this case, from coastal Carolina in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, or Conway, South Carolina, if you're being specific, all the way over to Michigan, very different environment. So I think that's really important that he is able to do that and he's able to flourish starting out in 2021 at Coastal, able to get those 12.5 sacks, converting, doing a lot of really good damage on the field for the Chanticleers, but then as well getting 8.5 sacks at Michigan as last year, finishing up strong in the Big Ten on one of the better teams in college football, 1 year removed from winning that national championship. So I think that this is super important. This is a guy that's going to be mature. He's able to do things at all kinds of different levels of the college football spectrum, and we see him here. I think this was a good get for the Rams, and I think that's why we've talked about this, and I never thought about it this way. I never thought an NFL team would look at it this way, but transferring up programs, I think, does speak a lot to a player's abilities. They're willing to say, hey, I can't immediately go out and start at this school. I'm going to start from the bottom, bootstrap my way up to the top. I think that might be indicative of someone's a hard worker, someone who's able to get things done, someone who works for their goals. So again, Rams, hats off, doing the same things that they've always been doing. Like you said, Rams fans probably getting tired about this because they know the Rams are very smart. Their front office is different. But this is another example of the Rams coming in with a different approach, a different strategy here, and bringing in a guy who has been very, very successful in his career. I think, in fact, that this guy is probably one of the better pass rushers off of the edge in all of college football last year. Yes, and in fact, per PFF, he was one of the best pass rushing defensive linemen in this class. He had a 27.7% pass rush win rate, which is extremely high. Very few people even got close to that. So this guy coming off the edge in Stewart is an absolute force here. And they got him at a steal too, the draft pick position versus where he was graded out to go. They get him at a great value there. But again, I like this. I like that he transferred from small school Coastal, moves up to a bigger school in Michigan, different tiers of football, successful at all levels. Small detail, probably doesn't matter too much in California, but he played in the hot summers in Conway, South Carolina, played in the cold winters in Michigan. He can do every sort of environment as well. This is a guy who just knows ball. He's good at football and does some really talented stuff on the field. So I like this guy. I think he's going to be a very good fit. I think the Rams found their next. This is going to be the next pod thing. Everyone last year was talking about, all right, they drafted Verse and Fisk in this pod section. This is going to be the new thing, the new talking point. And why do these become talking points? Because they're successful, because they work. I think Josiah Stewart is going to be the next guy that works for the Rams, and people are going to be like, wow, we didn't see this guy coming. How do the Rams keep doing it? It's because they're thinking outside the box. They have good sound strategy, and it works. So Rams fans, keep your ears open. The rest of the NFL, rest of conventional media, going to be talking about this guy very soon because of the work he's been putting in on the field.
And it's very interesting because if you compare Josiah Stewart in terms of his draft selection, 90, Kobe Turner, 89 a few years ago, and look at their draft profiles, and I pulled them up side by side here according to NFL.com, and folks, it is scary similar. Obviously different positions, but if you look at the high level, the strengths and weaknesses and concerns, right? This is Josiah Stewart. They say Stewart falls below the classic size threshold as a 3-4 outside linebacker. If you look at Kobe Turner, they say he lacks the weight, mass, and length typical of the position, right? We're seeing similarities there. We look at some of the strengths, right? We sit there and say, you look at Kobe Turner, he plays with all-day aggression and thirst for contact. You look at Kobe Turner's strength, exceptional pound-for-pound strength with jolting hand pump strength and club move, knocks blockers off balance, right? You know, you look at both these guys, you can go literally line by line by line here. You look at Kobe Turner, they say it posted 43 and a half tackles for loss, incredibly productive. You look at what they say about Josiah Stewart, piled up impact production over 4 seasons at 2 different schools. The similarities in terms of what Kobe Turner brought to the table, strengths and weaknesses wise, is identical to what Josiah Stewart brings to the table, strengths and weaknesses wise. And this is exactly what the Rams do. They look for strategies that work. And you kind of mentioned it. Of course, we look at the pod approach, the transfer up approach. They look for strategies that work and they look to replicate it, right? Which is what smart teams should do. This is what smart organizations do. They don't look at and say, oh, we're really good at finding value, so let's just always try and just find a steal at every position, regardless of anything deeper than that. No, that's kind of stupid. What you look at as an organization says, you know what we're really good at? We're really good at evaluating and finding front 7 guys that are overlooked that we think can come in and play right away. We've done that with Turner, we've done that with Young, we've done that with First, we've done that with Fisk, and they're going to do it again here with Josiah Stewart. This is a phenomenal move. I guarantee you right now, just based on these comparisons, Josiah Stewart will be an impact player. I know it's already a stacked front 7, so I don't know how many reps he will actually get, barring any kind of injury, knock on wood, God forbid anything happens like that. But I think when it's all said and done, even limited action, Josiah Stewart is going to be an impact player for this Rams defense. Because again, folks, and I encourage you guys to actually go look at this. The comparisons in terms of strengths and weaknesses from a high-level perspective between Kobe Turner and and then Josiah Stewart here. I mean, it's absolutely bonkers. It just seems like you got Kobe Turner. They say, well, he lacks the finesse that you would expect in the pass rush game. They have the exact same concern about Josiah Stewart, right? The size concerns, the athleticism concerns across the board. It's clear the Rams have a type, and it's worked before. They're replicating again here with the number 90 overall pick. Once again, this is why the Rams are smarter than most, if not all of their competition here. They take a different approach, a unique approach, and it's worked for them. And based on this pick, it will continue to work for them for years to come.